This was our first issue of the magazine. It was actually the second time we started a magazine because we were with another individual publisher who we had a falling out with. Different problems with that publisher, and it's some kind of a newsletter now, which I don't respect very much. But in any event, I now have, in effect, 9 issues of magazines on cold fusion since '94. And we do this on a shoestring. We are desperately in need of, not desperately, we're much in need of money. I teach school in order to help finance this. This was the second issue with the Patterson cell. This started, by the way, in March, April of 90. The magazine started March, April of '95. Hal Fox and I and Jed Rothwell and Chris Tinsley, we aspire to have some sort of larger thing going someday where we all join forces. It might still be parallel things. There's plenty of room for everybody here. Hal Fox is already our associate editor. And let's just make this bigger and better. It's already on the newsstands. This is the only cold fusion magazine on the newsstand, dominantly cold fusion. There is another one, but I think some other kind of society does it. They do good things too. I think we maintain a balance between acceptance and belief in evidence that is probably about the best going. We try anyway. We're not always correct. We've thought some things were the last word, and then we proved to ourselves they weren't, and we published the negative data. We are not afraid to publish negative data. And we are not afraid to publish the truth either. For example, Clean Energy Technologies has in fact been negotiating with the Motorola Corporation. They hinted about that broadly, and they referred to the cover of our recent issue, which has Motorola on it. We tell it like it is. Motorola did make them a big offer. Lots of figures. They rejected it. They wanted 100%. Should have been rejected. That's their Clean Energy Technologies Patterson Power Cell ad. We're in many states now, and most of Canada. Gene will tell me which bad provinces are not subscribing. Gene Manning, that is. My mirror reflection on the other side of the country. We are in many other countries, which I'm proud to say is expanding the knowledge of cold fusion. Hal, I know, his publications are all over the world. We added Israel recently. Very interestingly, an Israeli scientist at Carmel Olefins subscribed, okay? And immediately, the next day, I got a subscription from Germany with, it was obvious that this Israeli scientist had faxed to his German colleague, and so I got 2 for the price of 1, in effect. Two new scientists brought into the field. Recently, we get calls on the phone and subscriptions all the time from senior engineers and scientists who are just waking up, and they want to know what's going on, and you tell them basically, and they're astonished, and they can't wait to get the magazine, and when they see it, they know that there's something there. You cannot look at all these things that are being published and say it's nonsense, unless you're Kevin Wolf of Texas A&M, who is a sad case. He had tritium and neutrons in the early days. The negative faction within EPRI paid him to kill cold fusion later on. There is a negative faction within EPRI. Now EPRI is pretty much out. Across the board cuts, so they don't even have a cold fusion program, really, except Tom Passel's being paid to study it. The Japanese are now funding SRI International, Japanese main organization. But Kevin Wolf was paid to kill it, but he found neutrons almost immediately upon adding boron, the magic pixie dust, to his cold fusion cells. So he got the neutrons, but they still, so what? Low-level neutrons could be anything, but he believed they were real. Didn't publish it, though. Then, this was in '92, September. The radiological survey was going on in his laboratory, and they looked at 3 cathodes from a Pons-Fleischmann cell that he had run, 3 separate cells, and they were all radioactively hot. They found irrefutable evidence of isotope, radioactive, short-lived isotopes that could not have been added by any person, okay? And he believes, and to this day, Kevin Wolf believes 100% that that data is real, but he will not connect it with cold fusion. Don't know why. He just thinks, I suppose, that he was doing a cold fusion experiment and just happened to have cosmic ray interference. That's his explanation. But he was to give these results at the Maui conference. Mysteriously did not attend, even though he was a keynote speaker. And so we did, Tom Passel did him the favor of publishing it on a video presentation or slides in 1995 at the Monte Carlo conference, and we have it on tape. You can see all the gamma peaks. We traced it off the screen. And I think Hal Fox has published it in his new journal is it New Energy? I've forgotten.
Journal of New Energy.
Journal of New Energy, a peer-reviewed journal. Here are some things happening. We'll go quickly now since we're nearing the limit here. The Pons-Fleischmann patent is about to be issued in Europe. There's still a war going on against it in the United States, so it's unlikely to be issued for quite a while in the US. But the Europeans are going to give that. Eneco owns the rights, Eneco of Salt Lake City. This was a letter that they got, okay, given to me by the principals of Eneco. There was the PowerGen conference, December, in which Clean Energy Technologies demonstrated their cell. They got 1,344 watts out, 1.4 watts in for a certain time. They reduced the power in to 0.1 watt, and they had 500 watts out in a certain cell with new bead design, by the way. They were there. Here's their booth. Jed Rothwell suggested we use the term feel the heat because you can really feel it. You know, it's a cell. It looks like a science fair project, but any one of these projects is far more advanced in its technology of measurement and so forth than Faraday's work or the Wright brothers' work or anyone else's work. It's a beautiful experiment, and if you put your face over here above the heat exchanger, you will feel a blast of hot air like a hairdryer, Jed described it. And it was only 1.4 watts going in at the time through the Patterson cell with 40 cubic centimeters of Patterson beads. There's a little close. There was a control cell there that wasn't working well on that day. We wished Clean Energy Technology had done this more publicly and openly. We think if they had meters and they were showing it to all the fossil fuel people there, it would have been a home run. The whole story would be over now. And I know Dr. Cravens has been joking. I know he's not here. I think he left for some other place. He's a good guy. But we do have our disagreements. We'd like to see everyone have one of these cells to play with in their home, and they could make lots of money selling it or just sell the beads. But they want to kind of keep it under, as they call it, strategic partnerships. My fear for them is that there are so many other systems coming out now that if they don't take advantage of this one window of opportunity, other things will look much better and they will be bypassed. But I think they will, you know, to their credit, they are the first to get into public visibility. I must say I'm proud that I was the one who called Dr. Michael Gillen back in December to alert him that this thing was going on at PowerGen. He followed the story. There was some resistance by Clean Energy Technologies to let him cover it, but they did it on Nightline finally, and Good Morning America on the same day. Dr. Craven showed you the Motorola results. He didn't put it as Motorola, but it was Motorola. In essence, they ignited the cell, got it going with a delta T of about 15 degrees centigrade at a flow rate of 20 milliliters per minute. And as you all can calculate, by the specific heat of water, that is about 20 watts, but there was no input power. They turned the input power off. When was the last time you saw a light bulb that stayed hot without current going into it, 20-watt light bulb, for 14 hours? Tell me about it. Anyone who doesn't believe that experiment upon being shown Motorola data, well, I'm sorry for them. Mizuno in Japan with his transmutations. There are other things going on, such as the Cincinnati group, which we published a little bit about. They haven't released things yet, but there's a tile that's melted right through. It looks like a high-temperature cold fusion process. The tile, through this mysterious ingredient that they use, I can't reveal it, I'm under non-disclosure. I hope they'll be more public. We don't know if it's over Unity for sure. We would need some research money to prove it for sure, but it looks like it's over Unity. It uses very specific materials. It doesn't work if those specific materials aren't used. If it were an ordinary mistake of electricity somehow melting a tile, I think that it wouldn't happen the way it does.